To Part 1, The Omen. Rocklands had always been a place of contrasts, a beautiful suburb close to the ocean. With its golden sunsets and salty breeze, it was also home to the deep scars of gang rivalry. The Americans and the Fancy Boys had been at each other's throats for decades, carving up the streets into territories marked by graffiti and blood. But something strange was happening, and it wasn't gang-related. It began subtly. The night sky changes. The residents of Rocklands noticed it first in the night sky. At first they thought it was load shedding causing the power outages. Then came the lights, faint flickering orbs that hovered over the ocean at night, darting in sharp, unnatural movements. The older folks muttered about omens while the younger generation pulled out their phones to capture blurry videos for TikTok, but the lights never appeared on their screens. Strange disappearances. Soon, other anomalies began creeping into daily life. Fishermen who ventured out into the ocean failed to return. Their boats found adrift near the shore, empty and eerily clean, as if scrubbed free of life. Pets disappeared from yards. People in Rocklands started whispering about the vanished neighbors who had seemingly stepped out to grab bread from the corner store, but never came back. The invisible barrier. Then came the invisible wall. One morning, cars heading out of Rocklands for work hit an unseen barrier on Spine Road. Confused drivers got out of their vehicles to find no physical obstruction, but their cars wouldn't budge past a certain point. A bus full of school children was stopped mid-route, unable to pass through. It was as if some invisible force had sealed Rocklands off from the rest of the world. Frustrated, people turned to the ocean, only to find the same thing. A barrier just beyond the breakers. Boats trying to leave would simply halt, the engines revving uselessly. A brave surfer paddled toward the horizon but was hurled back as though a giant unseen hand had swatted him. The government never came. Phones and internet worked, for now, but no one outside the barrier seemed to believe what was happening. News channels dismissed the claims as hysteria. Social media was flooded with memes about the Rocklands bubble. No help was coming. The uneasy truce. With no way in or out, tensions between the Americans and Fancy Boys escalated. Both gangs suspected each other of being behind the mysterious occurrences, accusing one another of experimenting with some new weapon to claim total dominance over Rocklands. One night, in a tense standoff on Park Avenue, where their territories bordered each other, the gangs faced off. Shots echoed into the night, breaking the eerie silence that had settled over the suburb. But before anyone could pull a trigger, the lights returned. Brighter and closer. This time. The encounter. The gangsters froze as a low, unearthly hum vibrated through the air. The lights descended into the street, revealing strange insectoid machines, about the size of a car, with glowing, pulsating blue veins running through their sleek black frames. They moved unnaturally, their limbs clicking and whirring as if studying the humans before them. One of the Fancy Boys, known as Flaka, fired a warning shot. The bullet pinged harmlessly off the machine's metallic surface. In response, the machine emitted a high-pitched screech, and a wave of energy erupted from it, knocking everyone to the ground. The rival gangs, mortal enemies, lay sprawled together, stunned and terrified. When they got to their feet, the machines were gone, but the message was clear. These were not mere visitors. A message in the sand. The next morning, the people of Rocklands awoke to find a message carved into the beach sand near the ocean. It was written in a language no one understood, with symbols that seemed to shift and shimmer like heat waves, but somehow everyone knew what it meant. This land belongs to us now. Surrender or perish. Rocklands had become a battleground. For the first time, the Americans and Fancy Boys realized they might have a bigger enemy than each other. To be continued.